Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Big Sexy off of the album River of Shame titled Swallow the Pain. And if we switch over to here, River of Shame got the album art on the screen up here. I've listened to a few tracks from Big Sexy and I do typically enjoy my time with it. I'm gonna try not to show bias. We're gonna listen through this track from start till finish and we're gonna hear what we think. Let's go. Let's do it. Great use of buzz rolls off the bat.
The blue blast of flash bulbs washed in his face after his last fight. The one before Korea that took him away from us that night. His gloves still on his hands above his head. He's never been more invincible, is what the reporter said. And I disappoint from every ugly fist fight, from Jackson to the joint. And I keep pouring away, lift up my head to swallow the pain.
Is this about fighting or something like that? Great old lead here.
4 years later, he came back to us looking stronger than before. His haunted nightmares woke us all as he hid behind his door. Crouched within the darkness, he held my hockey stick like a gun. My mom was bloodied, her robe was torn. She shouted for us to run, run.
Oh, that was horrific. Sorry. That was an interesting transition to the honky-tonk pianos.
I disappoint from every brutal fist fight, from Jackson to the joint. And I keep pouring away and lift up my head to swallow the pain.
I think these lead instruments are doing well to meter out the severity of the lyrics.
When my dad shot himself, he was acting out a scene. He had rescued all the dying soldiers, still visible in his dream. And when his body emptied, then he slumped along the floor. He defeated all his enemies in his everlasting war. And I
Oh, this is one of those songs where if you don't pay attention to the lyrics, you're gonna miss out on a lot. And that was heavy. Like, I think genuinely it's trying to be catchy. And if you'd made the theme too depressing, it just would have been too much. So that makes sense. That's so dark though. Sorry to hear that. Really sorry to hear that. That's a personal experience. Really sorry to hear that.
fist fight, from Jackson to the joint. And I keep pouring away, lift up my head to swallow the pain. And I disappoint from every brutal fist fight, from Jackson to the joint. And I keep pouring away, lift up my head to swallow the pain.
And back to the drums. That was a sensational snare solo at the end, though. Well done. I'm gonna have a listen back to one of those verses where I think I missed some really important information. Just kind of grooving to the track was kind of I was listening, but I feel like I need to have another listen through, and we're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. And welcome to the conclusion, my review of this track from an act named Big Sexy, titled Swallow the Pain. Wow, that line where they talk about, because what is this track is about? I think it's about someone who is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder from their time, if I'm not mistaken, in Korea. I mean, it's just so heavy. The story, it's just such a visceral story. It's well told, but it just, when the mother, she screams run, the father with the hockey stick thinking it's a gun, going through like an episode, and then they shoot themselves at the end. And at the end they defeated all the opponents. Like, holy shit. This is probably one of the heavier tracks I've ever reviewed. That's great songwriting, but again, it's really sad to hear that they went through that. I'm really sorry to hear that, if that's a personal experience, you know. The story was very affecting. The way it was sung by Gary, the vocalist for the band, it's well sung. Like, we're trying not to get too sort of like heavy or intense with it. We're trying to sort of meter out just how horrific it is. We're trying not to kind of, get too down. You know what I mean? We're trying to sort of find an equilibrium there tonally, and we do. It's a song where, again, if you're not listening too closely to the lyrics, you just enjoy the piano and the harmonica solos and just sort of like vibe along to that. But if you sit there and listen closely, you get an extra layer there, and it simultaneously rewards you whilst with that extra bit of content in there, but also makes you simultaneously feel a sense of sympathy and empathy for the situation. And it's the real stuff. And they sung it in a way where I think they were trying to keep it sort of catchy and melodious, and they were trying to match some of the brightness of the major chords on the keys, the guitars, etc. They did well to handle it like that. They showed solid vocal technique as well. I appreciated the way they sound and the different melodies per section. The track structurally is strong. There are several solo sections in between, like intro and like an outro choruses. There's like a couple of harmonica solos. There's like a piano solo in the middle after that part where they scream run. And it's interesting. Like, we never sit on something too long. Even the last chorus had that harmonica over top of it, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, in the outro section, we had the snare solo. And the snare got faster over time. We split the snare solo into two parts, where it invoked what we had at the beginning of the song there with the sort of military drums. But then we had the faster snare solos where it got a bit more sort of dramatic and intense, and it just ended almost like we were saying goodbye to that person. Powerful. It's the inference not only of the fact, like, we can write a great song, we can incorporate the guitar, bass, drum, harmonica, and piano elements in a way that is texturally, stylistically cohesive. They harmonize well. They niche well within the freaky spectrum, but it's also alluding to some of the components of the topics that we're talking about. Again, with like the band playing, like the military band playing the snares and stuff. I just thought that was really well done. And we have some fantastic sort of strummed acoustic guitar chords there. The keys play a bit of honky tonk there, a bit of sort of country and bluesy stuff going on with the scale shapes, and we reinforce the triads outside of that. Harmonica following a similar voicing to some of the vocal parts, as well as trying to incorporate those similar sounds that the piano did. The bass line underneath there, reinforcing the root notes, and the drums with a mixture of different sort of quarter 8 and 16 notes across the kit with the cymbals, kicks, and snares. The performance overall was tight. The theme overall was majorish in tone there, almost like, I don't know how to comment on it. I have thoughts on it, but I want to be very careful about how I approach it. The only because I get in trouble for this. I've literally gotten told off by musicians about how I approach stuff like this, because I'm not always a big fan of having major chords with stuff like this when the topic subject matter is too heavy, because it just feels a little bit on the nose. But it's like we're kind of, even though it's a sad, like, at the very least it's a bittersweet track. It's like they found peace, and we're showing some gratitude for that in the end, even if it's horrific the way that occurred, and they shouldn't have had to go through that in the first place. I'm not really sure how to tie up the way the theme works with the vocals and the story. I'm not sure how else to sort of tie those up and make sense of it, but again, like the listening experience was positive. Like, since it was, again, I felt sad about it, but it was still a well-written track, and I appreciate the effort put into continuing that and the continuity of the quality across the tracks, across Big Sexy's work. The studio recording, mixing and mastering was solid. I think things were leveled well. You could hear the different elements within the mix there. There was enough dynamic range for the solos and vocals to alternate and sort of niche on top of each other when required. No weird resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum. And it was nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting was handled. And effectively, this is my review of this track from an act named Big Sexy, titled Swallow the Pain. And hopefully you enjoyed it. Or at least you appreciate, even if you didn't enjoy hearing the story, you appreciated the work they did on this track. So I think it's a great song. Please do go show them some love via the various social medias and their Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.